Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 386, The Real Reason You Can't Stop Starting Over. Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. Before I get into today's topic, I want to invite you all to join me this coming Friday. I think it's June 5th, I believe. June 5th, Friday. At 12 o'clock Eastern Time, I am having a Q&A call for a new program I'm considering opening up called Transformation. It's a very small program for 6 to 8 women, and we would meet weekly, and you would get coaching with me and the group every week. No hiding, no just observing. You are showing up and sharing every week inside the Transformation program. And I want to go over all of the details with that. And it also includes a trip to the Magic House. So we would start July 1st. Every Monday, we would be meeting live on Zoom. And then you would get coaching. You will get access to my 6-month Stop Over Drinking and Start Living coaching program, which includes a monthly workbook and videos. And we would be moving through those materials together as a group. So it's very high accountability, and it's called Transformation because we are getting underneath the drinking, and you are actually going to transform from the inside out. And when you do that, you just naturally will drink less, and you'll be a different person on the other side of the 6 months. And then at the end of the 6 months, we are going to go to Lisbon, and we're going to go to the Magic House, and we're going to retreat together and do in-person coaching work together and be in our bodies and learn all the things in a condensed in-person way. And it's going to be amazing. So I'm going to put the link for that Zoom meeting this Friday, June 5th, in the show notes. And then I'm also going to put in a link for the replay of this podcast episode, of that Q&A in the show notes, so that when we have the recording, you'll just be able to watch it if you're listening to this podcast after the fact. And if you're interested in joining me in this very small group of women to do the transformation program, it's application only, and you will have the details of that after this Q&A session on Friday and how to apply and how to join. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about that. And then today's episode, I really want you to understand why it's been difficult for you to keep starting over. So like you say you're not going to drink, and then you end up drinking. And it can be a daily thing. It could be a weekend thing. It could be a random thing. It could be occasionally, you're doing well, you're not even thinking about alcohol, and then you overdrink and it's not a good time. And really what is happening here is that we are just focused on the alcohol, right? And like not drinking or drinking less. And the real transformation comes when you change yourself and you look at your boundaries, you look at what feelings are driving your behavior of drinking, and you're just not focused on, okay, I'm not going to drink Monday through Thursday this week, and I'll allow myself to have a few drinks on the weekends. Like that is not a transformation. That is putting a rule or a boundary with alcohol, which is better than nothing. But it's not really going to change who you are and how you're responding to triggers and different things in your life that is driving the drinking in the first place. And so what's important as you explore your relationship with alcohol is understanding, why you're using alcohol, the triggers that you have in your life, where you abandon yourself during the day and not make yourself a priority, how well you're taking care of yourself, so many things. And I know like listing out all of those things and mentioning those things can feel very overwhelming. But working on them doesn't have to be that way. It's really just a daily process that can be very simple, that brings you and your life to the forefront, and you become conscious of how you are thinking and feeling in any given situation. And maybe it's changing your thoughts around a certain specific situation. Maybe it's learning how to feel uncomfortable or be frustrated around something, or address old things from your past that really need to be addressed, that are still driving the behavior that you're doing today. Right? Or saying no more. Maybe you've packed in a lot, that you really shouldn't be doing all these things, and you need to pull back a little bit. So it's a process of evaluating how we're showing up in our life today, and then deciding what needs to be fixed and getting support along the way. That is probably the number one thing, is like changing your relationship with alcohol is changing the relationship with yourself and how you show up for yourself, and looking at things that you are tolerating, and maybe things that you shouldn't be tolerating. I had a couple of coaching calls today with a couple of my private clients, and in both situations, like, they had thought that, oh, the partner should be allowed to have fun and have a happy moment, or to feel good, right? That's what the wife is thinking. That's what the partner is thinking. And when we think that way, we are automatically saying to ourselves that we are less important, and that we don't get to have that as well. Right? And so just getting awareness of that is super, super helpful. You get to have fun too. You get to be free and do what you want to too. And there's not one that is more important than the other. And so seeing little nuances like that, and how you're thinking about things, and bringing yourself into the equation, that you get to be considered. Some people, mostly women, just haven't done that. Right? They don't even know that they're not doing it. That, they don't recognize that in their mind, they are putting everybody else's needs and priorities before their own, especially if you're a high functioning, go-getter, high achieving person who has a job and taking care of kids and all these things that we do, right? In our we're taking care of elderly parents. We're helping support other people, right? Like, we're so good at these things, and we wouldn't call ourselves a pushover by any means. And right, we're strong, capable, outspoken even. We wouldn't say that about ourselves or think that about ourselves. But from the work that I've done over the past 8 years on myself and coaching thousands of people, it is very common that we think these things. And so when you think other people's feelings, comforts, priorities are more important, they should be able to have that, you are automatically putting yourself at the bottom of the list, right? And so being able to have somebody that helps you see that is transformative. And so when you see that and you decide, I deserve to be on the same level, I deserve to feel good and have a good experience, your life starts to transform. You start to transform, and you aren't settling for crumbs, right? And you're aware of these things. And when you're aware of that and you're giving yourself what you need, you don't need to drink, because what's happening is the alcohol is giving you something, right? It's giving you a treat at the end of the day, so to speak. It's giving you a hit of pleasure. It's helping your mind shut off. It's just not the best thing, right? You deserve more than that. And when you start to take care of yourselves, and you see how you're thinking about certain things, and you start to pay attention to your feelings and what you actually need, you don't need alcohol at the end of the day. That just gets a lot quieter. So in my work, and in this transformation program that I want to talk to you about on Friday of this week, that's the work that we do. And so this is for people who know that they need to do more than just focusing on cutting back. They know that they need to get underneath and have high accountability, and to make this an actual transformative thing for themselves. So they need to transform. They need to get aware of the reasons why they do things or don't do things, where they fall in the lineup in their own life, how they've been prioritizing themselves compared to other people, how they've been saying yes to things that maybe, they shouldn't be saying yes to anymore, and do that deeper work to get to know themselves so well that they can trust themselves and give themselves what they need. at the end. And then when you do that, you become transformed. You are a new person. And I had to go through the same process too. I was just sharing this with another client. Like when I was doing this, I'm about to celebrate my 8th year of not drinking. So really I'm in my 9th year of doing this work, right? So it started before I decided to quit drinking, right? I'm just celebrating like since I have stopped drinking, but all of the coaching, all of the internal work and transformation happened before this 8th year, right? So 9 years ago, I started doing this work for myself, and I had to blow up my life. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing at the time. How it all started was I recognized my life was not sustainable for me. I was working full time. I had 3 very small children. I think one of them was in kindergarten, the rest were in preschool and daycare. And I was working at a job that was all right, but it wasn't paying that much. And I just felt like I was on Groundhog's Day. And I was Googling things like how to not do the American life, how to do life differently, because I just felt like I was getting nowhere. Was feeling stuck. I was definitely not happy. I was drinking wine every night and watching a lot of Netflix. I was overweight, tired, resentful, angry, anxious, overwhelmed, all of that. And I just knew how I was doing it wasn't working and that there could be a better way. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything else, I promise. And so I decided, and then I found other things. It just obviously opened up the whole cascade of stuff that happens when you start looking for that stuff online, but ultimately led me to starting a lifestyle blog. And I'm like, ooh, I could make money on my own and not work for somebody. And maybe I'll start a blog. So I started this lifestyle blog. I had no idea what I was doing, was not making any money. That led me to decide to quit my job. And in that process of quitting my job, we did not make a lot of money back then. I had 3 kids that we were paying, like preschool and daycare. We were barely making it and to make ends meet. So I stopped getting my hair done. I stopped getting my nails done. I stopped going out to dinner. I returned my leased car to the dealership. That's how much I needed to figure out myself. So I was like, I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to not have things so I can figure out what it is that I'm doing in my life. And so that's what I mean by like kind of like blow up my life. I was willing to like just stop everything to help myself figure out what it was that I needed to do. And in that process, I reduced my expenses and I'm like, okay, like this is where we're at. This is how I can focus. And, it really wasn't that hard. And then I found life coaching and I joined a group coaching program. And in that process, I finally learned that it wasn't by following a plan. It wasn't going to help me lose weight or quit drinking or make more money or anything like that. It was getting to know myself and getting to know the feelings that I had and getting to know the resentments that I had and the manuals that I had for everybody to follow that nobody else knew about. And how I was thinking about myself and my own capabilities. That's the internal work. That's the transformation. And when I focused on that, that's when I quit drinking. That's when I lost all the weight. That's when I started my business. That's when I started making more money. But it didn't happen until I focused on things that we don't know that we need to focus on, like your feelings and how you think about things and the boundaries that you have and the resentments that you carry and old wounds that need to be healed. Like I didn't know that. And honestly, if you would have told me that's where I needed to focus on, I would have been like, ugh, right? So I'm glad it happened the way it happened. But if you've been banging your head against the wall and you're just like feeling stuck around your relationship with alcohol or stuck in your life, come to the call on Friday and listen to me talk about the transformation program. If you've missed that call, the replay link will be here in the show notes as well. Send me an email. We start July 1st, 2026. So if that's something that's interesting to you and you're ready to go in and do that deeper work and have very high accountability where there's no hiding, where you're showing up and sharing your progress every week and the work that we're doing together in the workbooks and the videos, then come find out what this is. So you can have a transformation so that you don't need to turn to alcohol and you find other solutions to help support yourself in your life that are way better and more enriching than alcohol ever could be. And have more adventure, better relationships, and get to see what you're actually capable of. Okay, my friends? So that's what we got to do. That's why we have to stop doing what's not working. What are you willing to do that you haven't been doing before? When I think about changing my own relationship with alcohol, I had to be willing to kind of blow things up and really challenge a lot of things, including what other people thought, and let that go and really decide that I'm worthy of doing this work for myself, and other people's thoughts are not going to help me get there, and worrying about what other people are thinking about what I'm doing in my life is not going to help me feel better in my life. And so I have to feel good. My thoughts about my life are the most important. And right now, at that time, I wasn't proud. I was stressed and overwhelmed and anxious. And I'm so, so glad that I was willing to do the difficult things and to say no to things, excess things that were not good for me, and tune in to the internal stuff and do that deeper work to get to where I am now. And I'm helping thousands of women do the same thing. So you can be one of them. Check out the Q&A session. Come join us in transformation. If you have any questions, you can email me, hello@angelamascenik.com. And like I said, the links to join the Zoom this Friday will be in the show notes, as well as the replay. All right, my friends, you got this. Talk to you soon.